Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 170 of the Backlot 605 podcast. We are in week number 2 of Viola Davis month here for the month of February. I am one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman. Joined with me, as always, are my co-hosts Brian Mensing.
Hello.
And Sam Lenz.
What's up?
What is up, gentlemen? Are you ready to talk about this week's movie, which is from 2018, Widows?
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
I'm totally ready for this. I love this movie. This is the whole reason that I was like, we should do Viola Davis month. I love this movie so much.
This is the catalyst for the entire month because of Sam's love and enthusiasm for the movie. And this week we're bringing upon a new guest. But it's a name you might have heard before. We are bringing on Arlinda Peacock, who is a local Sioux Falls artist and musician, and the older sibling of former guest of the show, Bobby Peacock. Arlinda, welcome.
Hi. What's up?
How are you?
I'm very good today. Just it's dealing with Monday and trying not to be a Garfield today.
It is definitely one of those kind of days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing worked out. Coffee wasn't hot enough.
Yeah. I had a very similar morning, so I get it. I'm just glad we made it through and we're here now, you know?
Yeah, It's almost over.
Yeah, we
It
made
is,
it. We basically made it, right?
Yeah.
We're there. We're at the end. We get to talk about a movie. It's going to be a good time. And I think one thing before we even get to the movie, we like to always ask this of our new guest. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and also, what is your favorite movie?
I am an artist and a musician. I write. I play piano. Currently trying to learn how to play the guitar, and then I'm also learning how to paint right now. But yeah, everything art, music, and I also really love movies. I don't really talk about that so much as an artist, is how much I love movies and film and all of it. And my favorite film, that's so hard. There's so many. Inception is probably top.
Yeah.
Cliches, Donnie Darko. I also like 8mm with
Nicolas Cage?
Cage, the films, yeah. So just it's hard to say what my favorite movie is because I could pick one from each genre or whatever, and it just depends on what mood I'm in or like what year I've had to what becomes my favorite movie that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You're in good company. Mine's always fluctuating.
Yeah.
Someone asks me my favorite movie week to week, it's always a different answer.
It's gonna change.
Yeah.
Your answer's always changing unless it's Chopping Mall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chopping Mall is like my one constant, but I love cheesy B movies.
I'll ask this because we kind of talked about it before the show, and we talked about it when Bobby was on the show of how scared he is, and it seems like every Bobby I know is terrified of horror movies for some reason. But you said you love horror movies. Then what's your favorite horror movie, and what draws you kind of to the genre?
Gosh, it's also hard. Favorite. I think like movies like Disturbing Behavior I like to watch. Like The Nightmare on Elm Street, just because it's just creepy, because it kind of brings it to reality that monsters exist everywhere. And then, gosh, there's so many. That's so hard. What's one I recently watched?
You've been giving out some really good recommendations for people that you know. Like I think not many people immediately go to Disturbing Behavior. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that recommendation right there.
I just like the old school, like just the aesthetic of it. I recently watched I Know What You Did Last Summer, and it was like a cozy Sunday in my bed watching a slasher film and just feeling nostalgic. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like dark. I feel like darkness exists, and I also feel like it's good to be aware, and it's also good to get scared every once in a while.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
For
feel
sure,
like
man.
horror is like comedy. Every once in a while you got to have a good laugh. Every once in a while you got to have a good scare. So, yeah, you are in good company with being a horror fan here. But the movie we are talking about today is not a horror movie. It does lean towards that darkness that you just mentioned, though. The movie is Widows from 2018, the Viola Davis led crime drama. Heist film from director Steve McQueen, co-written by Mr. McQueen and Gillian Flynn of Gone Girl fame. Before we jump into the movie itself, I'll ask everyone here on the show, is this your first time watching it, or had you seen this movie before? I'll start with Sam, because I already know the answer to his.
Yeah, so I had seen this movie. I bought it on a sale when it was like on Vudu. About 6 months after it had come out. And then it took me another couple months to actually watch it, because I'm just like that. And once I did, I was like, oh my God, this movie's incredible. Like, I wish I would have seen this in the theater. And for some reason, after that first initial viewing, I didn't come back to it until I revisited it for this podcast. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, why do I not watch this movie
just turn it
more?
off for a little bit, okay? Just go to your room.
I love it. I love this movie. I think it's Viola Davis's best work. Granted, there are a few that I haven't seen of hers, a few in particular that we'll be getting to in the next couple of weeks. But I just think her performance is magnetic in this, and I love this movie. I'm willing to call this very close to a perfect film. Yeah.
Brian, what about you?
I would say the first time watching this was last night. Like Sam, it was one of those things that as soon as this is a movie that intrigued me, it's one I wanted to go see in the theater. I didn't get to. Probably shortly after it hit digitals when I picked it up on sale and whatnot, and it literally sat in my queue of things I need to get to eventually at some point. And this came around, and when we started talking about what movies we're going to pick for Viola Davis, I'm glad this one picked up, because I'm like, finally, I'm going to sit my ass down. I'm going to sit and get this watched. And I'm glad that we're finally being able to get a chance to actually talk about this. So
Abe,
I'm looking for it.
Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. Like I said, we're gonna have we get kids cameos on all the time, and we have
He's
a kid on our
jealous.
we have a kid on our show named Sam anyway. So
Yeah.
We do.
For me also, this is a first time watch. I remember when this came out, and we actually put up a review for this very early on in the podcast days. We have a written review on the website for Widows, done by Sam Larson, and was probably my same feelings, unfortunately, with her review as I read through it. But it is a movie that has been talked about quite a bit in the last couple of years, especially in terms of like heist movies or action thrillers that have come out in the last 4 or 5 years. But I'm excited to talk about it. Arlinda, what about you? Was this your first time watching Widows?
My first time watching it. I felt weird about that. I was like, I feel like I should have seen this movie, but I hadn't yet.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
it was very as much as I like horror movies, I think things that sit with me more than a scary film is dread. And there was a lot of dread within this film. Like some of the violence in it was just like, I've seen some messed up things, and this made me feel very uncomfortable. And I think that's genius.
Yeah, there are a couple scenes in particular with like Daniel Kaluuya's character that almost go into full-blown horror for me, where I'm like, oh my God, his performance just chills me to the bone in this movie. He's so good. He's so
creepy.
good. Yeah. I'm so excited to get into the specifics of this one.
Let's not wait anymore. Let's get into this then. I'm just going to read the synopsis right here off IMDb. It is 4 women with nothing in common except a debt left behind by their dead husbands. Criminal activities take fate into their own hands and conspire to forge a future on their own terms.
Okay.
Like I said, directed by Steve McQueen.
Honey, it's recording. Stop.
I'm gonna rattle off this cast because this is a massive cast for this movie. Like we said, Viola Davis is our lead. Her husband, played by Liam Neeson. John Bernthal is one of the partners of Liam Neeson. Michelle Rodriguez is one of the widows, as is Elizabeth Debicki, Carrie Coon. We also have sleazy Robert Duvall and a ultra sleazy Colin Farrell in this movie, and sort of our main antagonist here, like we said, Daniel Kaluuya and Tyree Henry. Anyone else I'm missing? Yes, of course, Cynthia Erivo, who kind of shows up halfway through the movie to join this group of widows on their
and she is
on their
jacked
heist
in this movie. My God, she is jacked in this movie.
I love the fact you're listing all these people off of there, and I have this nice, wonderful, mural behind me of actors and actresses, and they don't even all fit.
I was going to say
the mural.
That's not even all of them in this movie. So I think just having this massive of a cast is, I think, the first big achievement of the movie for me. I think having this literally all-star cast, many movies try to say that, but this has
really
that.
Does.
And that's the best part of this movie, is this gigantic cast where everybody is giving it 100% into every single role that they're portraying in this movie. And it's a good mixture too. Like, you have classic actors like Robert Duvall. You have the mainstays of today's movies with like Colin Farrell or Viola Davis, and you have the up and coming like Tyree Henry and Daniel Kaluuya. So I think we have a very
Cynthia
very good
Erivo.
mix.
This was actually the second performance of her, like, because she also did Bad Times at the El Royale the same year. And God, I can't think of like a 1-2, like maybe Florence Pugh with Fighting with My Family and Midsommar, that like 1-2 punch where they really announced themselves. But like Cynthia Erivo in those two movies, just like, she blows me away. I don't know why she hasn't blown up more than she has. She's so good in both of them. But yeah, I think like this cast, there's not a bad performance in any of these players. They all show up, they know the assignment. And even the characters that don't have that much screen time, I mean, Tyree Henry isn't a like massive part of this movie, and he brings a lot, like just a lot of emotion and just, I don't know, there's heart to his performance, which isn't something you can say for a lot of actors when they're only in like 2 or 3 scenes, I don't know. I think from head to toe, this cast is incredible. And but my favorite performance of this whole movie is Viola Davis. I think, like, from the opening moments of this movie to the end, like, the moments that stick with me the most are some of the moments where she's not even speaking. She's just emoting, like she doesn't have to say a word, especially like, and we'll get to it. I'm not going to jump right to the final scene, but like the final shot of her is just, I don't know. It hit me really hard this time around on rewatch, and it just left me with so many thoughts and emotions. And I think that's the real power of this movie, is like, Steve McQueen is a good director and there's a lot of style in this, but Steve McQueen also knows the power of a good performance. And that's something that's in all of his movies, and that's something that's very present here.
Yeah, I'll stay with the positives. I'm going to back up those performances because like I said, I think that's the best part of this movie. You talked about the style. I think that's the weakest part of the movie, where it starts to take away from the performances, because everybody in this movie is such a damn powerhouse in this. They're all so great. Daniel Kaluuya is the standout for me in this movie, but That's not
He's
taking away.
dreadful. He is
Yeah,
so dreadful.
He reminds me of Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. He's not the main character of the movie, but every time he shows up, it's like, something bad's going down.
Oh, that movie's so good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with names. That's my problem. So it's like when I talk about film, I'm like, gosh, why don't I remember reference names? It's kind of embarrassing, actually. Sometimes I try to separate the character from the actor just so I can fully dive into the film fully with like as if I don't know them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sometimes that's the better way to go. That is sometimes definitely the better way to go.
I gotta be honest, sometimes when I can't shut my brain off, it like dampens my enjoyment because I'm sitting there going like, oh, that's an interesting acting choice by Idris Elba. And it's like, I gotta stop seeing him as Idris Elba and like start seeing him as like the character on screen because I'm terrible at that. I'm such like an actor fan that I'm like, oh God. Like most of the movies that I decide to see are based on who's in them.
Because of the act,
Yeah.
Try to watch an Idris Elba movie now after watch a DJ set of his and then try to do that.
Oh God, he's so fun as a DJ.
All right, back to Widows, boys.
Back to Widows. Sorry,
Arlinda, what was your initial thoughts with your first time watching this movie?
Oh, sorry, I have something. My first thoughts. There's a lot of them. I was mad about the ending because I feel like he should have gotten a little bit more just desserts. Just died easily. Not to dive into that. I already talked about the dreadfulness, and what I really liked about it is like Viola Davis's character. Like there was moments where she kind of knew the full truth, and she knew the ins and all around of to what actually happened, and just kind of denies it. As strong as this woman is, she just kind of like puts up a blank wall and just keeps going on with her same plan. And it's almost like she is going through grief, and some of those parts of grief are denial and all those things. And she just kept ignoring all the hints to what actually happened because she just is so enraged and just wants. I don't even think her goal or in her head she felt she would totally end up safe either. I think she was just kind of done with, after losing her husband, I think she was just kind of done and just kind of going off the deep end, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was going off the deep end a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a lot of that whole, she thinks that, she was denied a lot from Liam Neeson's character and whatnot, and felt that this is her way to be able to get what she deserved after he was gone.
And I think a good early scene of showing those two together and then her pain of it is just those two staring out a window together. And then again, there's no dialogue. There's no like real like story progression. It's just two actors emoting on screen, and you understand their relationship because of that. And I think that's a huge standout to this movie is the minimal screen time that we get with the widows and then their partners that have deceased. Is you still understand everybody's relationships, even though we get like one scene at the beginning of this movie with them with their partner, but you still understand like the relationship that they had with each of them. And I think that's really a strong point of the movie, and to the actors especially, because if the actor is underperforming, you're not going to feel all of that in just a single scene that's only a few minutes or moments long. So I think that's a real standout, and props to all the actors and actresses in this for being able to deliver so much emotion in such a small amount of screen time of interacting.
I will say that in terms of all of the couples to the widows to their counterparts and whatnot, is as much as I think they're all giving great performances for the time that they're on screen and whatnot, I still had a hard time believing the chemistry between Viola Davis and Liam Neeson. There's just something there that just wasn't quite like, clearly they both, like you said, clearly they could both emote and show that and whatnot. But it was something about them together that just did not quite seem to jive for me. Especially in that opening scene where they're kind of making out in bed and whatnot. It just seemed a little. For me, it seemed a little awkward. Like
Maybe
it looked like Liam Neeson was trying to eat her face.
Well, I mean, that's just because Liam Neeson's a terrible kisser. Everybody knows that. But
He kisses as good as he runs, guys.
yeah.
And he does neither very well. I think that kind of goes into their relationship, though, because they are both, at least from what, and I think that's one of the detriments of the movie. We don't get to see Viola Davis really before Liam Neeson passes and what her character is. We don't get a whole lot of that. I think that's a disservice, but we understand who she is at that point when he dies, and maybe she was just that same type of personality, and it just, his death heightened it. So I think there is that disconnect between the two of maybe they don't always know how to express their emotions, and they're not going to do it verbally, but they'll do it like physically in their own certain type of way.
I think there was
yeah.
an eating thing before all this happened. Sorry, I didn't mean. Just how she went off the deep end and how she just kind of didn't believe it. She thought he died or whatever, you know. I feel like when a girl is scorned or doesn't trust a man, sometimes they just keep living in denial. And even I feel like there was something more to that, and it just never was brought into the film. But just even their chemistry, it just seemed that they were trying to like fill voids that can't be filled by that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you kind of figure out the backstory with like their son and what happened to him, you understand why there's that like distance between them in the few scenes that they have together. Like there's, you know, I feel like even when he's still alive, when Liam Neeson's still alive, Viola Davis is still going through the grieving process. She's just going through it for her son. And then her grieving process for her son literally gets interrupted by her husband's death, which sends her further down this spiral of like cutting people off. And then, you know, come to find out halfway through, you know, like obviously spoilers for Widows, but Liam Neeson is still alive. And it throws her whole grief cycle off again. Right? Like, I mean, she's been grieving someone who isn't even dead, who screwed her over for money, who was supposed to, and I don't know. I think that's such a fascinating, like, she can never get into a rhythm of things because this guy literally keeps screwing her over, you know? I don't know. I think that's
ultimate betrayal too. Like when I imagine someone doing that to me.
Well, and especially when there's that comment about, you know, after the son's death about the whole, you know, not having children with her kind of thing, and then you realize that the 6-week-old or 6-month-old or whatever is his, basically.
Yeah.
Up when she found the flask and like that denial part right there, straight up denial. I would have kicked in the door and just been like, what? But
yeah.
And for me, I think that's a flaw of the movie of I don't buy her not kicking in that door and beating the shit out of Liam Neeson at that point. Because I feel like with her character and then seeing the flask and then the dog also reacting of the dog knows he's behind that door because we saw earlier how the dog reacted to seeing his jacket. We know what's going on there. I think Viola Davis's character would, like you said, kick in that door and confront Liam Neeson right there. Instead, she just continues with her plan like he's still dead. And it's very weird to me.
I think she had a break.
I think it feels like it's one of those things that she feels that she's come to the acknowledgement and realizing that she got screwed over. And instead of basically opening the door and acknowledging him and trying to, you know, face him with it, she wants to keep that door closed because she wants the money, because at the end she wants to try to best him knowing that he has done this to her.
Yeah.
So in a sense, she's
Yeah,
almost
I think.
sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I think it's I mean, when you're going through the like, she's clearly in at this point in the movie, she's cutting herself off from everybody. She's very depressed. She's not letting anybody, even the people she's pulling this heist off with, get even remotely close to her. Like, she is trying to be as emotionless as they come. I think she knows kicking in that door, she's going to show her hand. She's going to show the emotions that she is trying so hard at that point to keep behind a closed door so she can pull this off. I think at that point, like, her goal is more important than anything else. And like, okay, he's still alive. Fine. I'm still doing this. I am still going to have this one thing. And I don't know. I think that's I get where you're coming from with that. I also just think it's like way in her character. I think that's, I don't know.
I also think it leans into Liam Neeson's character of, as she continues, like we said, halfway through the movie, get revealed that he's still alive. I think his character then would, if she's still going after the money, be a sleazebag and be like, well, I'm getting my cut of that somehow, some way. He sort of does by the end, but I would also buy that he would be like, yeah, I'm leading the charge on this heist because I don't trust her enough to pull it off. Because that's not his plan, obviously.
Right.
I don't know. I think there's a disconnect with his character coming back to life that I don't think adds to the movie, in my opinion, of him being revealed to still be alive. I think her going through a grieving process and the flashbacks of, yeah, he's not a great dude. He still has a very shady past that she knew about and figured out. I think added to her character. I don't know if we needed him to come back at any point in this movie, because she is still going to go through all the same grieving processes that she was going through before.
It was
Yeah, but you also have to keep in mind that this is based on like a British soap drama. And so like the source material literally, I mean, people get brought back to life in TV dramas all the time. So I bet that's more of just like a stay true to the roots of what it is, you know? Yeah.
Maybe Liam Neeson didn't want to die in the movie. He's like, I got this. I'm only going to do this if this is what happens. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And they're like, fine, we'll let you live until the very last scene, and then Viola.
You can live till the end. Just don't make another Taken movie, please.
Yeah.
It kind of made me like that she's not getting vengeance for the husband at all. It's always been for the son. Mm-hmm. And like her discovering he's still alive, she just kept going because like she didn't want to make it about the husband anymore. And I think when the son died, that it was done, you know?
Yeah.
I think she would have done anything at that point, even if it ended up with her dying. I think when you lose a kid, you just don't care anymore. I know if I lost my kid, I would go off the deep end. I would, like, I don't think I would care about anything but them.
Well, and that's where I go back to the small child and everything like that is it looks like, for her, it looks like he's clearly moved on. He doesn't care. So why put the effort into him when she can take care of the effort and put it into herself and put it into what she's got going on?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
I want to talk about some of the other leads of this movie. I think for me the most interesting character to follow in the story is Elizabeth Debicki's character, who is married to the Russian, and she basically becomes an escort for a very rich architect, which also leads into the plot of the movie as well. I think she has some of the most interesting stuff going on in this movie. I don't think it's tied up very well, but I think it's super interesting where they go with the character and how it ties into the overall heist that we're building up to in the last 20 minutes of the movie, where she's kind of the most vital part of that, in a way, of one, getting guns for this, two, getting the plans of where the house is. So I think she's a huge part of this, and I'm glad we got to spend a lot of time with her and the rich architect. I think their chemistry in that story is very interesting to look at. and I think works better as an overall like relationship study than any of the other relationships in the movie.
A couple
Yeah,
things.
I think there's.
Oh,
Go for
I
it,
was
Brian.
gonna say a couple things I will say in regards to that. Number one, I think she steals pretty much every scene that she's in because I think she's phenomenal.
She's really
Two,
good.
it took me 2 or 3 of those scenes with her and the architect to realize that was Lucas Haas because he cleans up really well.
Oh my God, it
Um,
is, isn't it?
Yes. So I was like, okay. I was like, this is why he looks familiar. I don't know. There's just something about her arc throughout the entire movie. I think, especially with the fact that she's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to get guns, other than the fact that she's like, okay, where do I go? I go to a gun show or something like that. But then like turns on that whole like Russian mail order bride thing and whatnot
Yeah.
to get somebody who knows what they're doing to help her, kind of thing. Like she knows how to push the buttons of other people to get what she wanted, including the
Yeah.
rich
Like my
architect.
favorite exchange is that like when she's like, "Okay, honey, what do you need?" And she just goes like 3 Glocks, like drops the act almost entirely. And that's a lot of firepower. I need one for every room. Just like God, she's just like that exchange is just perfect. It's so well acted. It's so like it's funny. It's great. Um, and I think they do a really interesting job with her character, like showing the cycle of abuse. Because I mean, you get scenes with her and her mother, and like her mother is clearly abusive, and then she finds herself in an abusive relationship, and then she finds herself in like it's just I don't know. It's a really interesting thing. I will say, Casey, I kind of agree. Like they fumble a little bit on the wrap up of her arc, but I think what they do with her and how she performs it is so entertaining and so not entertaining but intriguing that I don't know. I get wrapped up in it every time. And I kind of like movies that leave some open-ended things. Like life is messy, like this heist is not going to be completely a new chapter for all of them. You know what I mean? Like it that's just not how it works, and I think maybe that's by design, but it might just be me finding workarounds because I just really like this movie.
I feel like she got stronger like throughout all of it because again, when you talk about the abusive cycles, so when people sometimes go through that, it's just like it starts out here and then they keep going through these things. And I feel like when she became with the architect, that was like a little bit more vanilla than what she was used to. And she was getting stronger and realizing her self-worth, and just her character was developing to somebody that was learning to heal. And I kind of like how they put that into the film, because when I go back to like parts of it were dreadful, it's like real human emotion, real life stories, real like sometimes we think of people being a certain way, and all these women are coming together with all these different backstories and all these hurts and pains in their life, and just watching them grow throughout of it, it's just kind of incredible. And it's like, even though it may not have ended the way it was supposed to, it's like they developed the way they were supposed to, and they grew within all of this, and it was kind of beautiful to watch. It was very bleak and very beautiful.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. She's the one that pulls the trigger on Duvall at the end of the movie, right?
No, that was Michelle Rodriguez.
That was Michelle Rodriguez, I'm pretty sure.
Because
Yeah.
she's the one that gets shot.
Yeah, she's the one that gets shot.
Oh,
Michelle Rodriguez is the one that fires back.
Yeah, I would have swapped that in storyline wise. I think it works for Elizabeth Debicki a little bit more, just because of her overall arc of kind of taking the power back into her hands. Like that would feel like kind of a nice closure to that. But yeah, like I said, her story doesn't totally wrap up like I think it should have. Like there should have been one scene with the architect after the heist, in my opinion, to wrap up whatever that's going to be or isn't going to be. I think we could have used little something there between the two. And I think they just had good chemistry of that type of relationship. And like, what's going to work, what isn't going to work with this. Obviously, probably not going to work, but it's at the chemistry they still have. There's something there, even though it might not be something where it's like the audience wants to see them like end up together and walk off into the sunset. It's more of there's some kind of chemistry. Maybe it's not like an intimate chemistry, but there's something there between the two. And I think that the movie should have touched on it a little bit towards the end and wrapped up that storyline.
Yeah.
I think
going back though, like,
sorry.
No, you go.
I think the architect
I was
an
gonna move on.
asshole.
Yeah, he definitely is. Yeah.
I don't think anything would have ended good within that. And I think she would have just gotten stronger and dumped his ass.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to see her dump his ass though.
Yep.
It would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with Michelle Rodriguez firing the weapon though, like if you think about it, all of these characters, like Elizabeth Debicki has a wealthy mom. She clearly has this like relationship that she can kind of like, the architect is an asshole, but she's able to kind of manipulate him enough to where she's living comfortably about midway through this movie, right? Viola Davis doesn't need the money necessarily. Like, she has her stuff that she could fall back on. Michelle Rodriguez is the only one who it's like, what does she do? She has 2 kids. She has no source of income. She has nothing to go back to. She is the one with the least amount to lose in this heist, I think. Well, maybe besides Viola Davis, who clearly at this point doesn't.
Yeah, Viola Davis has nothing to lose. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I guess like Michelle Rodriguez does, but like to her, I'm guessing it's either shoot this guy or not come home to my kids, not have this money, not, you know what I mean? And like, for me, I'm like, yeah, she's gonna be the one to pull the trigger. I love what they do with Michelle Rodriguez. I wish that she got more roles like this. I feel like she has just, I mean, look, I love the Fast and Furious movies, guys. They're big, dumb, cheesy fun. But like, she actually gets to act in this movie, and she's so good. I wish that more people would take, I wish more people would take her seriously as an actress, because I think she's genuinely great. And I don't know. I think when she's not having to spout off lines about family and pretending to be in love with Vin Diesel, I think she's really good, you know?
I think she's just as good in this as she is in the Fast and the Furious movies, and that's not a dig. I think she's really good in those. Like, she makes that relationship believable. It's not Vin Diesel doing it. Let me tell you that. It's her.
And if you think about it, you have to act really hard to be in love with a human thimble.
This movie was easy for her. She's working with Viola Davis and Liam Neeson. She has to work with Vin Diesel in the other one. Come on. But I feel like she's just playing Letty in this. She's just playing the character from Fast and Furious.
I see. I don't see that. It's for here. I see that she's a lot more scared. You know, again, somebody who's a fan of the Fast and Furious movies, that she's clearly turned into this, like, you know, secret ops version of herself in the later half of the movies and whatnot. You know, this one, she actually gets to show that she actually has something to lose in terms of losing her kids, losing everything that she has, you know, not going for her and whatnot. So, you know, you see that look in her eyes when she's the one that's shooting Robert Duvall. So, oh no, I think she definitely has a lot more to chew on here in comparison.
Oh yeah. I think she's on a different level in this than she is in the Fast and Furious movies. And that said though, I really, I don't know, like her arc might be the one that gets the least amount of time. But that scene where her store is getting repossessed and they're taking all the money out of the register, you know, I mean, I don't know, maybe we all haven't been there, but I'm willing to bet that at least some of us have been there, where it's like, oh, I have about $20 to my name and I don't know what I'm gonna do next, you know. And that's a scary feeling, and I think she totally pulls that off, you know. I don't know, she really, like, I think she holds her own in a cast that like when you see Michelle Rodriguez on the cast list, your automatic thing is like, oh, well, there's a bunch of A-listers and then there's Michelle Rodriguez. But you don't see that discrepancy in the performance.
Mm-hmm.
I think she holds her own with everybody in this, and I think she's just incredible in it. I
agree with that. Her character for me isn't given anything besides I have kids, and it's like, yeah, I know you have kids, but what about you? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah.
And Cynthia Erivo has the same thing of, she runs really fast to me. And it's like,
oh
what?
My God, that scene where she's running though, she's booking it.
Oh, she's booking it. And again, this isn't a dig at the actors. The actors are doing incredible in this movie with what they're given. For me, it's just, I don't think some of them are given enough to be like, this is who you are as a person and as a character. I just don't know who they are. And I think that's a big problem with some of the side characters in the movie. I don't know who they are. And for me, like, characters are a big part, especially in a movie like this, of I need to know who these characters are and what their motivations are. And for some of them, it's just money. It's like, nah, that's so easy. Everybody wants money. I get everybody wants money, but it's like, I want to know something else a little bit about you. That's why I understand Elizabeth Debicki in this movie, Viola Davis especially, where you understand every little bit of why she's doing this. So, yeah, I just wanted a little more from them because I think their performances are really incredible in this. And like I said, Michelle Rodriguez, I might say she's Letty from Fast and the Furious in this. That's just because of how she's written to me, of kind of like in the Fast and the Furious, she's a love interest to Vin Diesel and has kids and came back from the dead. But in this one, again, it's like she has kids and her husband died. What else? What else do I need to know about you? I don't know anything about you. So I think that's a disservice to the actress, in my opinion. But I think other characters get a really shine and stand out. Like Duvall and Colin Farrell, I understand every little bit of them as a human being and their relationship with each other and their relationship with other people. Like, I think that...
And Colin Farrell definitely makes you know and understand that you're in Chicago.
Oh, he has an incredible Chicago accent in this movie. I love it.
I swear, it's
Colin
like
Farrell is just
every
great
third
at
line is like
accents in
that they're
general.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hides that Irish accent really well.
Mm-hmm. I think like all the side performances are good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of them come anywhere near what Daniel Kaluuya does in the hitman role.
I would give one exception to that. But that's only because she's only in like 2 scenes, and that is Jackie Weaver as Debicki's mother.
She's really good, she's really good. But the bowling alley scene with Kaluuya, that scene is terrifying. I mean, the methodical way he like sticks the guy's legs, you can't feel it, studies him, bends down and like pulls a total Michael Myers where he's just like tilting his head, like examining his work, and you're just like, what is like like when it's behind a mask, fine, but when it's an actual human face going like no. Like I could not run into him in a dark alley now without like
being terrified,
peeing myself because he's terrifying in this movie.
Or when he turns the volume up on the TV while the guy's being
Mm-hmm. And
oh my
that's
gosh,
one thing
I really watched that scene because I was like, what?
And the best part about that scene. Yeah, and the best part about that scene is the fact that they pan over and you're just watching him watch TV, and you have to imagine what is going on with Bash. And what all you can just hear is just the carnage happening, and he's just all like, I'm gonna watch the football game.
It's like Scarface in the chainsaw scene. Literally, like that's what I thought about. I was just like, this is just like he just sat there, just like straight face. I would be throwing up hearing bones breaking and things,
Or like his early introduction too in that like gymnasium, and he just pulls the trigger on the guy, and he lets some other guy start running, and then pulls the trigger too. It's like, this guy's terrifying. He has no no remorse for anything that he's doing.
Not
Well, and the
one.
best thing is, like, that scene has been played out before, right? Where the hitman's like, run. I mean, you see it in like Black Panther with Killmonger, where it's like, oh, run away, and the guy starts running, he blows him away, and he goes, why'd you do that? And it's like, so it doesn't look like a planned attack. There's none of that here. There's no reason that he tells the guy to run before he shoots him, other than he's literally just messing with the guy. And it's like, oh my God. Like,
You know, it's funny you bring a Black Panther, you know, because he was one of the issues that I had with that movie. And it's like, if I could have had this version of Kaluuya in Black Panther, I would have liked him so much more.
Straight up
Oh my
psychopath.
yeah. He is in this. Like, I want a horror movie where Daniel Kaluuya is the killer, and I don't want him to wear like a mask or like makeup or prosthetics or anything. I just want it to be this character in a slasher movie,
Just
because I think that'd be terrifying.
And that made me very uncomfortable, and like in a good way, because when something makes me uncomfortable, I'm like, okay, I see this. This is creepy.
Yeah.
Same with Brian Tyree Henry, who, like, whenever I see him, he's kind of a comforting face.
Yeah.
Like when he shows up, he's always very comforting whenever you see him. Like in Eternals, he's a comforting presence in that movie. Godzilla versus King Kong, he's comforting. This one, it's like, yeah, you're scary too. You're just as scary as the other guy in a different way, but just as scary.
And I would have to admit, for me, especially when you get that introduction of him, and you're like, okay, you already realize that Colin Farrell is pretty much kind of like the scumbag guy in power in the city kind of thing. And you see him on screen, and that's the first thing I thought of too, is I think of like Godzilla. I thought of, you know, the Eternals and whatnot. I'm like, oh, he's going to be the big teddy bear. That's going to be the guy that's going to be the savior for the city and whatnot. And then he starts talking. And then you realize, oh, okay, this isn't the guy that I was expecting to get. You know, it's all he on the outside, he's the teddy bear. On the inside, he's the machine.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, Brian Tyree Henry has just such a nice face. Like, you want to be friends with Brian Tyree Henry. And then when he flips that switch, like when he chokeholds the dog, I'm like, oh no, you better not. Like, no, put the dog down. I can't do violence against dogs.
I'm just kidding. I just think it's funny the dog was everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, Viola Davis like brings him
did
to,
the
like,
dog get its own acting credit
and everything? I'm like, what?
I don't know. I hope he did, or she. I don't know. I don't know.
That dog needed its own acting credit too.
The dog had more screen time than a lot of the people in this movie.
That dog had more screen time than John Bernthal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was in this. The dog too. Like whenever Viola Davis had it too, like she was cranking on its leash a little hard, and I'm like, just let the dog loose a little bit. Like don't pull so hard. It's kind of mean. Be nice to the dog.
That is mean.
Yeah, true.
See, agreement on the treatment of the dog in this movie. Okay, I got to bring up this scene because I need to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Okay.
It involves
Is this
Colin.
The hot take you were telling me about?
No,
Okay.
I'll save that for the end. I don't think it is, because this is a scene I think a lot of people talk about with this movie. It's a scene where after Colin Farrell delivers this speech in this little park in this neighborhood, that he gets in the car with his wife or campaign manager?
I would assume like an assistant.
Okay, they get in the car together, and the camera is on top of the front of the car. We just hear this conversation between the two. We don't ever see them. And the camera kind of follows the car on one side, and then as we make a turn, it follows on the other side. And all we hear is this conversation between the two. What was that?
It's showing the difference between where he was giving the speech. Like, he's giving the speech in what, I mean, many in Chicago consider like the ghetto. In his ward, right? Like, they redrew the lines to be more like the poor neighborhood. And they're literally driving out of it into a nice residential, like, they pull up to his freaking like McMansion or whatever. And I think it's meant to insinuate like he doesn't actually know what these people are going through. He doesn't care what these people are going through. He's literally like, he's fine. He can take a 2-minute drive and be out of that area and not have to worry about anything. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's meant to show the discrepancy between like people who live, I mean, I live half a mile away from like, you know, multi-million-dollar homes. I'm not a multi-millionaire by any means. So yeah, I don't know. I think that scene is really cool. I think that's one of my examples when in my Letterboxd review where I'm like, McQueen just knows where to put the camera. Like, I think that scene is so powerful. I love it.
And I think it works because we're not seeing their faces. You know, it could have been the atypical throw the camera inside the car.
I think it doesn't show their faces because it does show the two worlds, and also shows that anyone can be like this. Anyone can just not care. There's a lot of people that just don't care, and it doesn't need a face to them. Even in the position of power they have, there's so many people like them that do these same things, that will just go speak to the poor and get back into their mansions and treat their maids like crap and barely tip. And it just shows that, like, do they even deserve a face? Like, does it matter who said it? Because they all do this, and none of them are better than the other. And like, I kind of like the aspect of like, all we need to see is the truth, not them.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think that's a really powerful scene. I love it. I mean, it's just there's that disconnect. Like, by not showing their faces, they're not giving a face to, you know, the bastards of the world, and they're also showing that disconnect. Like, they're not interacting with anything around them. We are, but they aren't. And I think that's just so, I don't know. I just think that's so incredibly innovative, and I love that scene. I'm guessing you have different thoughts, Casey.
Oh, I think it's the worst scene in this movie. Been cut. Everything you guys are saying is true. Like, I'm not going to disagree with that. I just think it's just shown and done the scene right before they get in the car of this guy wearing this suit trying to get these people to cheer for him and chant along with him. And then he just gets in this multi-$1,000 car and leaves. It's like, he's obviously not a part of this neighborhood and doesn't care. And we get that from other scenes with him and Duvall. I just think that was a style over substance scene for me, because it's very distracting of, are we supposed to follow the conversation, or are we following what's happening in the background?
I think it's a combination of the both. And
you can't follow both.
Yeah,
I think it's impossible to follow both.
I don't know what they say in that conversation.
And I think that's a problem.
I don't. I absolutely don't. I think if you watch that scene, you focus on the conversation, you're going to get an experience. I think if you focus on the background and like what's happening visually in that scene, you're going to have a different experience. But I think both of those experiences, having only had one of them because I always get distracted by the visuals. I'm a visual person. I think
and movies are a visual medium. That's what you're going to follow in something like that. And I think that's a problem with the scene is maybe there shouldn't have been any audio, shouldn't have been any dialogue. And maybe we should have just had the just following the camera with like a score underneath. I think that would have been
pauses in between each word, or just like a little bit of audio scene.
Yeah.
A little bit of audio scene, a little way less.
Or Casey, maybe you need to get a little ADHD up here so you can only focus on one thing.
I do only focus on one thing, and it was the camera moving. You could almost forget that there's dialogue in the scene.
Yeah, exactly. And I do. So it doesn't bother me.
I'm going to throw this out here because I got curious that Olivia the dog does have credit in this movie. And Olivia the dog actually had 2 movies that year, and the only 2 movies that year. Because this is also the same white dog from Game Night that got all red on it.
What? Oh my god!
It doesn't have a name?
The dog's name is... Oh, the dog's name is Olivia. and because in Widows it's just listed as Veronica's dog.
Olivia is my favorite actor of all time.
Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, that's probably who the dog's based on, right?
I'm sure Sandy, the sandy blonde hair for both. But let's. Do you guys have any other scenes you guys want to bring up or present forward? That was the big one I wanted to discuss. Was really curious your guys' thoughts on this. But is there any other scenes that we haven't talked about you guys want to bring up?
I would certainly say would be.
You go, Brian.
Sorry. was when Daniel Kaluuya takes the van, and they chase him down, and
I love all the one shots in this movie because that's like a continuous take.
Yeah, but I mean to the part where they get him to crash, and again, it definitely had that horror movie-esque feel to it because you have that one shot of his dead body basically wrapped in the front grill or the front dashboard of that truck and whatnot. But no,
the whole time you're kind of wondering, like, is he gonna pop up? Is he gonna pop up? Oh God, get the bags and get out of there! Oh my God, get out of there! He's gonna pop up. He's Michael Myers in this movie, guys. Like, he's terrifying.
Maybe Jordan Peele will do a version of his version of the Halloween, and he'll be the Shape.
He's very creepy.
Slasher, and Daniel Kaluuya needs to be. Yes, I'm 100%. Maybe that's what Nope is, guys. Gotta be, right?
All right, Sam, did you have a scene you wanted to bring up?
I love the scene where you actually see Harry betray, like, any scene that's like a one take or a one shot. I love it. The basketball court scene with Daniel Kaluuya taking out those two guys. I love that it's like one continuous shot. The camera movement is so fluid, and then like that carries into different scenes like the heist, the car chase, then Liam Neeson's betrayal of his team, and then like my favorite moment in this movie though, that I don't know if it hit me as hard the first time I watched it, but the second time around this time just like got me, is the end. I love the reveal where Veronica is like, I want you to build a library with this money, name it after my son. Like, It's such a cool, like, she's not even using the money for herself. She's literally like, she's trying to honor her son, right? But then her running out after Elizabeth Debicki and like smiling and showing emotion to another person for the first time in the entire movie. Like, you don't see her show emotion around anybody, at least post-death. I know like her and Liam Neeson have like arguments and things like that. But even then, she's very like closed off towards him. The last shot of the movie is her finally realizing like there might be more out there and making a genuine connection. And the way the tears like well up in her eyes as she's like smiling and begging for this human connection is just like, I don't know, it hit me. And I was like, literally, I started crying. And I did not cry the first time I watched this movie. But for some reason, that last shot hit me. And I was just like, oh my God, like, she's a freaking powerhouse. I don't think there's an actress today that is doing better work than Viola Davis. I really don't. Like, she is just incredible in everything that she does. And I think this is absolutely her best performance. And that last scene just cements it for me. I think she's incredible. I think the whole movie builds towards that one moment where she's finally able to reach out to another human being and is looking for an emotional connection. And I just think it's a beautiful ending. And I love that it's open-ended. You don't see Elizabeth Debicki's reaction. You don't see like what she says back. You don't know any of that. All you know is that Viola Davis went out and asked for a connection. And I just think that's incredible. I think that's the best way to end this movie. And that's why like there are little like stumbles on the way to that. Right? I know I said like I'm almost ready to call this a perfect movie. I know it's not a perfect movie. But the journey that you take to get to that one emotional punch at the end, it leaves you with that feeling that what you watched was worth it, at least for me. And to me, that just it makes the whole movie just worthwhile, is that end to that journey. And I love this movie. Absolutely love it.
All right, should we get to our final thoughts? I'm going to take that as your final thoughts, Sam.
Yeah, that is my final
thoughts.
That's a pretty... This is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I love this movie. I'm not going to lie. I have no idea how I've owned this for like, 4 years now, and I've only watched it twice. I'm gonna fix that, because like this has got to be like an every year watch at least. Oh my God. It's so good.
I want to end on a positive note, so I'll go next. I didn't love this movie. I wanted to. I think there's tons of great elements in this, and like I said, cast is incredible. I think most of the direction is in the right spot for Steve McQueen, but I think there is just some character elements and a little bit of the style where I'm like, I don't know what we're really adding to this. But again, I think if you're going into this movie and you're looking at what's going to be the big standout, it's the performances. And I think that's the biggest takeaway of the movie, of showing, I think, different sides of many of these actors that we sometimes don't get to see. Like Daniel Kaluuya, for me, is and Brian Tyree Henry. This is not the characters we've seen them as in other movies. So it's nice to see what range many of these actors have. Duvall is great. Colin Farrell is great. Viola Davis, like you said, kept saying, Sam, is a powerhouse. And she definitely is in this movie. I just think some of the character elements don't work for me, and I wish they did, because this movie has a ton going for it, but could have used a little more. And I guess I'll give my hot take that you mentioned, Sam.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
I think this story works better as a comedy.
Really?
Go home.
I think you're insane, but I respect
Or at least I want a parody of Widows.
The only funny thing,
it's called Ocean's 8.
The fried chicken comment when he beat the guy to death. That was the only joke in the whole movie.
Yeah. Well, okay. The car auction scene was pretty funny too. When you find out Elizabeth Debicki can't drive.
The whole movie. Go away.
You're being parodied by a child, Sam.
That's okay.
I will say, I wish I would have liked this movie better, because I would have way more to talk about. I'm not saying it was bad. I think it was great. It just doesn't. We should do a horror movie.
Yes, we will have you back on for a horror movie for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess myself, I lean with what Sam is saying too. Is it a perfect movie? No. I'd say probably a 4 out of 5, just simply because the performances for me allow me to give a little bit of a leeway to some of the other choices in the story and in the characters and whatnot, just because I'm so enthralled with the people that are on screen and whatnot that I'm forgetting the little things that are, the things that would potentially, not work for me otherwise. So
Everyone's a buddy.
It's everything that you want out of something that has got this large of a cast, because you have a cast this large. We've seen in other movies where they've attempted, and Brian Tyree Henry is in one of those, which is the Eternals. You get a cast that is too big, you're potentially going to mess it up. You're not going to get a full-on character development. You get more character development out of this, and even with the little ones that don't get as much as you would potentially, then how many other movies that have the cast this large?
I'd like to point out that I gave the Eternals and Widows the same rating. I love the Eternals, and I stand by that.
You're insane. All right, last question then. If we're going to watch Widows and you're going to watch it with another movie for a double feature, what movie are you going to pair with Widows?
Black Widow. What to pair with it?
Black Widow.
Go over there. pair
He's like, I heard MCU movies.
Lucy.
Lucy?
I think
Mm.
Lucy. Oh my God, the
Ooh.
one with ScarJo.
Because they're
Yeah.
both kind of like crime based, that it'd be like kind of cool to pair with it, as in like Lucy, it started off in this realm and ended up a whole. I feel like it could just slowly engage into that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like that choice.
Mhm.
So gnarly. I love it. Oh God.
John
I need
Wick?
to rewatch that one too. I don't know. If I was gonna pair this with something, I don't necessarily know if I find Widows like a fun movie. You know, it's not one that I'm gonna put on like any time. But I do love me a good heist movie. And I think I love heist movies because it's always like a round table of actors, like a big cast of actors all getting to like ham it up and do their shtick. And so I would pair this with Ocean's 11, like the 2001 one with George Clooney and Brad Pitt and Don Cheadle. Like Don Cheadle is incredible in that movie. I mean, everybody's incredible in that movie, but like for me, Don Cheadle just steals the
Are
scenes. He's
we
hilarious in that.
are we really gonna have two movies back to back where there's characters named Bash?
Yes, we are. Because that is my double features, Ocean's 11. I love that movie. That was one of the first, like, it's partially nostalgia, I'm sure, because it was one of the first like PG-13 movies I got to watch growing up. So I was like, ooh, this is like a grown-up movie, and I didn't get like half of it, but yeah, I dig Ocean's 11. So yeah, I would do a Widows Ocean's 11 double feature. But I end with Widows, so we ended on like the more like note, you know, like something's weighing heavy on me, because like we can't have fun on my movie nights.
I'm going the exact opposite. We're only having fun on the movie night to end the night. This is a heist movie starring Michelle Rodriguez. I'm going to go with a heist movie not starring Michelle Rodriguez, but in a franchise she is a star in. Fast 5 is going to be my pick. So if you're going to do a double feature, we're going to watch Widows first, get the depressing stuff out, and then we're going to watch Fast 5 where they drag a safe across
Rio de Janeiro,
and
The
Rock and Vin Diesel punch things.
I'm gonna give him credit the fact that he got Rio de Janeiro in the first try. Like he never usually knows what country they're in the movies.
I didn't know. That's why I was waiting for one of you two to answer.
Yes, I always know.
It's totally Rio. It's only when you get to like 7 and 8 and beyond is when they just kind of start getting muddled.
Yeah, then it's like we're in an ice planet. I don't know.
We're in Iceland. We're in Greenland. No, I did want to say Ocean's 11, so Sam kind of took my pick. So I'm gonna have a little bit. Oh no, but I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with this here because I was like, okay, so what's a fun, corny heist movie that you can have a little bit of laughs with? So since I can't have Ocean's
Italian
11,
Job.
I'm gonna
no, but that's what are you gonna change it to?
Con Air.
Yeah.
I just have a question for all you.
Yes.
Are you all singers?
No, I
Buddy,
can't hold
you
a
don't
tune
wanna
to
hear
save
us
my
sing,
life.
man.
Pretty badly
But
sometimes.
yeah,
I
Con
mean,
Air's
that
actually,
counts.
I love that movie.
That is a great choice. That is some
That is an
magnificent
awesome
How
Nick
are
Cage
you
hair.
here?
Abraham, go. Sorry.
No. I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with this here. It's not a great movie. It's a cheesy, corny heist movie, but we'll go with Tower Heist with Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Because I
man.
mean, come on, because why not? When you're bad guy that you're trying to, take over as Alden Alda, I mean,
That's fun. That's a fun movie.
I could have taken the low hanging fruit and go like Sam took my Ocean's 11, so I'm gonna go with Ocean's 12.
I was about to say you could just say Ocean's 12. Same thing.
Stop.
All right,
Oh,
let's wrap this thing up here. This has been our episode on Widows. Let's jump to our plugs very quickly. You can subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and on YouTube. And if you do so, please leave us a rating and review there. Brian, where can they find us on social media?
On social media, they can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd HQ, all at Backlot 605. On Facebook, you can also check us out at the South Dakota Film Community Group, filmmakers, film lovers, film enthusiasts, just people who like talking about movies. Sam, where else can they check us out?
If you like this and you want more, you can check us out on patreon.com/backlot605, where we have 4 bonus episodes a month. This month, we just released last week an episode on the Netflix original Home Team starring Kevin James, which I think all of us agreed we would have loved if we were 10. This week, we're doing The Wedding Singer. Next week, we will be doing a debriefing of our Schmuckies Awards, which are coming up this Thursday at 7 o'clock at Spellbound Magic Shop, also going live on Facebook and YouTube. And then we are closing out our month with the new Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm very excited to watch. It looks gnarly, man. That bus scene, it's going to be fun. So yeah, if you want to check this out there, that's perfect, right?
I was going to say, way to spoil it. I didn't know there was a bus in that. I've legit seen nothing from the movie. I've seen the one poster. I've seen the poster. I'm like, yeah, it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie coming out. I'm watching it.
Yep.
Loved Chainsaw Massacre.
Well, there's one scene in particular you're going to like, Casey.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Last thing, let's throw it to our guest this week. Where can the people find you online and any of your work?
YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, yeah. And Bandcamp.
Awesome.
At arlindapeacock.email.com.
Okay, you didn't give out the real one.
Close enough. He got most of it out.
Gmail.com.
Oh!
Hey!
But yeah, he's
Oh,
right.
that's awesome.
Awesome. This has been a ton of fun. Yes, we will have to have you back on to talk about a horror movie. So thank you for coming on the podcast this week. We look forward to having you on and talking some horror movies in the future,
thanks
though.
for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm really glad to be a YouTuber.
Okay, go.
Oh,
Well,
awesome.
on that note, we are also happy to be YouTubers. For Sam Lenz, Brian Mensing, I'm Casey Kelderman. Thank you all for listening and watching. We'll see you next time, right here on the backlot of South Dakota.
Bye.